really stuck out for us in the past few years is going to be our engine comparison test. Now, this is a great kind of idea that we all had here down at the department to really take our 2-liter and compare it to the 3.6 liter. Now, it wasn't an apples to apples comparison, but it did do really well. I mean, I'm looking at it now and today's middle of March and it has 309,000 views. So I really hope that that was a good resource for you guys to kind of go on there and check that out. Now, there is a diesel out as well, so when we get our hands on one of those, we're going to be doing kind of the trifecta and comparing all 3 of them. But today I figured it would be a good opportunity to go back and kind of take a look at this video and see if anything in my opinion has changed. You know, this came out October 28th, 2018. We're in 2020 now, so it's a year and a half later. A lot has changed with these Jeeps. You know, they are tried and true, both of them. And we're just going to go ahead and watch this. I'm also going to react to some of you guys' comments that you made on here because this video is 50-50 as far as people liking it and kind of agreeing with the methodology that I did here. Now, the biggest thing that I will say is that we don't have the opportunity here at CJ Off-Road to always get a bone stock vehicle and really go out and do the torture tests and the testing that we do with it. So we kind of have to make do with what we have. So when I say that, it isn't an apples to apples comparison of both of them, but it still gives my personal feedback, which I think is pretty valuable. I hope it's pretty valuable. But with that being said, we're gonna get started with the video, and I'm just gonna look at it and we're gonna see what kind of comments are on here and see if we can answer any new questions and give some fresh feedback to an old video. As many of you know, the 2018 JL came with your choice of 2 engine options. Now, lucky enough for us, we've got and now it comes with 3. So we're going to go through a comprehensive review so you can make the right decision on which engine best suits you. We're going to be doing on-road testing, off-road testing, some fuel economy, and many other tests to give you guys all the information that you need to make the right choice. This is back when our JL still had the 3.6, so it's changed a lot since then, guys. We have a Hemi in it now. Going on 7 years, coming equipped in Jeep Wranglers, and it's a tried and true engine that has shown its reliability and power over the years. The 3.6 liter engine found in your JL is going to produce... So here's all the specs. All the specs are the same. The only thing, I think the new 3.6 you can actually get with some sort of e-torque management onto it, so it can actually add a little bit more torque and a little bit more power to it, but all the specs here are pretty much the same, and that engine was great for us. Besides when it sucked in some water, the engine was great. The 3.6 is a great option for you. But this one we had the in-gen cold air intake, which did increase the power, and you could actually hear that audibly inside the cab. You could hear that sucking in, you know, all that fresh air into the engine, so you could hear that one. Now, I feel that with the 4-cylinder, give it some more time, and there will be more parts available for that. However, since it's only... And that's true, too. The 4-cylinder, that was an issue when that first came out. There wasn't as many aftermarket parts for it, so there was not cold air intakes, there was no blow-off valves, there was no catch cans, there was no oil separator, there's nothing for it. But now, at this point, it's a year and a half later, and we've got a ton on the website. I mean, we've got a rugged ridge snorkel on there, we've got a blow-off valve, you can do cold air intakes, you can do Mishimoto catch cans, all sorts of stuff. So the 2-liter is definitely adapted to the climate right now. So that's a good thing, you know. Took about a year, and then everything kind of got the way it needed to be. 5 more foot-pounds at 3,000 RPM. I gotta be honest with you guys though, driving both of them, you know, we drove the 3.6 for a while, drove the 2-liter. I gotta give it to the 2-liter for being a peppy engine. I mean, that thing is quick off the line. It's got power on the highway, and for being as small as it is displacement-wise, it does make a lot of power. So, you know, you add a blow-off valve and a cold air intake, you're gonna be doing pretty good on there. It's a completely new system we've never seen before, so it's pretty interesting, and we'll dig into it a little bit more later. But it is tried and true to this point. You know, it's been a year and a half. We haven't heard of any major defects from the 2-liter, so I think it's been doing pretty great, to be honest. We have about 12,000 miles on it, and nothing really, there's no issues with it. You know, give it an oil change, you know, clean out the air filter, make sure it's running tip-top shape, but no issues. So that was, we were nervous about beginning on that because it's a brand new engine. In the Jeep, it's not brand new for FCA as a company, but in the Jeep, it's brand new. So here's kind of where some of the comments go a little bit awry, and that was when we did the comparison for the 0 to 60 time. For a lot of these videos, we don't have access to like a drag strip or something where we can take all these vehicles to and do it off camera, so we've got to be as safe as we can. So if we're doing these things, we make sure that we do them on closed roads and we can get a 0 to 60. So when we did this, it was around a little bit of a turn, so there is a little bit of difference there. But we tried to make it as even as you could, just to make sure that you were giving a fair test. So But the 3.6 was a little quicker. It was a little quicker. The 2-liter, I think on a straight line, probably a little bit quicker than the 3.6, but it felt like the V6 had some more power. This supposedly is making more torque at 3,000 RPM. I'd like to say it doesn't feel like it has that power right away. Probably because it's a turbo. Yeah, and that was true. That was true. So I kind of mentioned there that the 2-liter, like right off the gate, doesn't feel as powerful as the 3.6, but it still has a lot of power. But it is a turboed engine, so you got to wait for the turbo to spool up before you really get into that boost and into that power band. Let's see, like some of the comments here. So we're at 4 minutes in. Let's see. So testing a 0 to 60 start from turning on a corner is just a waste of a test. Like I just mentioned, a little bit different on there one. I've driven the 2 and the turbo. Oh, he's driven both of them, and the turbo feels way faster than the V6. So that was Nick there commented on. But a lot of people were kind of confused. So we had the air intake and the other mods in the V6, comparing it to a stock e-torque. We did what we had at the time. So, you know, we're swapping out these intakes, we're swapping out everything, making sure that we can get as close of a test as we can. They're both on 35s. They're both on the same height lift. One's a 2-door, one's a 4-door. But the engine, as far as that feels, that's what we wanted to test. Somebody was, you know, this is 11 months ago. They were considered about all the hybrid and the electric and the stop-start. Hasn't been an issue. So that never turned out to be an issue. Everyone was worried about that. The big battery underneath, they were all concerned about it. Never turned into it. We got a guy here, Joe, who lives in Utah. He lives in Moab, Utah, obviously the Jeeping mecca of the world. He said he's owned and modified a lot of 3.6 JKs, been behind a wheel of a couple 3.6 JLs. But he said he's behind the wheel of a 2.0 turbo on 37s, and he said it flat impressed him. He's a personal owner of a JLU, and he said that's kind of his pick there. He said he's waiting for the JL diesel, which is now out. So, Joe, I hope you got that diesel, but 2.0, the 2.0 is impressive. I say it in the off-road test on this video too. It's not bad at all. So some guy, you know, Kelly, they're looking to do a comparison when the EcoDiesel comes out. That's a year ago. So we'll be doing that. Don't worry. A lot of people got the turbo though. A lot of comments here. Guys from PA says he missed his home. Yeah, I'm sure you do. PA is gorgeous. Got a Jeep Cherokee with a 400,000 miles. Lots of comments on this video. So we try and go through and answer as many as we can, but obviously, we do as much as we can with that. So with this video, we do have some more time on our hands where we can really dig in. So if you've got any other questions or something that's been really pressing for you, drop it in the comments because we'd love to answer that and really get our knowledge to with you guys. But let's catch back and see what I'm doing in this video. Just going down the highway. So that's where I'm talking about both. And they felt, guys, they felt the exact same on the highway. I mean, they both rode incredibly smooth. They had a lot of power. You could get on the on-ramps, no problem. No problems at all. I mean, the 2.0 is quick, though. See, and I'm saying it here. 2.0 is quick. That's a good engine. I'd highly recommend that, especially if you're looking for a little bit better fuel economy. That's a good engine. It's a naturally aspirated engine, but once you get up into the power band of this Jeep, it feels pretty good. However, when it falls out of it and stays down in those lower gears to save some fuel mileage, I would say it doesn't feel as powerful as the V6 does. And now, I will say this doesn't have an intake or an exhaust on it, so if we had an intake and exhaust, it might free up some of that horsepower. So as soon as those come out, we'll be dropping them on here, but we're up at about 70 miles an hour on the highway. Yeah. It's comfortable, you can cruise, but just a little, it feels like a little bit less horsepower. But in the next few videos, yeah, so one thing I'm even mentioning here is that the 2-liter doesn't have the intake and the exhaust on it, and we do like to put a wide variety of parts. So, I mean, we're constantly pulling things on and off of these Jeeps and making sure that we can get as many installs as possible. So there is a difference in the performance there, but we're trying to match them up pretty close to what they were, besides the fact that we put a Hemi in our 4-door, which is now my 4-door, so that was back in a time where that still had the 3.6. But we do add a ton of parts to these things, and we try and keep it as even as possible. Sometimes it can't happen, though. You know, we like to get you guys as many installation videos as possible, so sometimes when we have these things to test, they're not going to be the exact apples to apples, but they're going to be pretty close. So with this 2-liter, we do have an intake and an exhaust on it. So it's really close to what that 3.6 would have been. And I got to say, it did pick up a little bit of power, too, so it's always good to grab some power on there. So overall, guys, here I'm just doing the close next to the two things. These Jeeps have changed so much over the years. We've added a ton of parts, but I do pretty much have the same opinion on this, you know what I mean? The 2-liter had a lot of low-end torque, and I like how smooth it was out on the trail. In this episode, we didn't really talk about that. That's in another episode, and you guys have to check that out too. That's part 2, where we take them to AOAA and really get into it and take them off-road. Both engines are great though. I can't wait to get our hands on the diesel there and really get 3 different engine options. We've got the Gladiator now. That's another cool thing too. The Gladiator wasn't even out when this video was released, so we didn't even know it was coming. But overall, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this type of content. And to get more content like this, stay tuned to our YouTube page, and obviously stay tuned to our social media. Now is a great time for you guys to interact with us. If you are at home or working from home, you can throw our video up on the other side of your page and just take a look at it, watch it. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, drop it, and one of us are going to answer it for you. Until next time, guys, I hope you guys are staying safe, staying home, and I'll see you out on the trails once everything's back opened up.